Welcome to How Women Write, the podcast for author entrepreneurs to find inspiration and flow. Get easy to implement 20-minute or less writing and business lessons, plus interviews with relatable and inspiring women to help you create a sustainable writing habit that grows your business and leaves a lasting impact. I'm Jacqueline Fish, former communications consultant, 3-time author, and intuitive writing coach. Let's go. Hello. Today I want to chat about the wrestling with decisions when we say, oh, maybe later to your writing project, when it's something that you've been circling and you know that there is an inevitable yes somewhere inside. It can feel like an inner creative conflict. It can feel like fear, yet you're feeling a strong pull and nudge. And then your brain kicks in and jumps in with doubt, fear. Can I really do this? Maybe later. So today I want to talk about what to do if you are in that space. Now, this is top of mind because in January, I opened the doors on a new writing program called The Living Draft. It's a live container where we have 3 live sessions. 2 of them are 3.5 hours each, where we meet our writing project. We allow it to emerge, and it is totally transformative. It's dropping all the narratives. It's not writing for anyone else or proving or trying to write a bestseller. We're not going into it with that energy at all. And I had a divine download about the gist of this program in December. I had no idea what it was. All I knew was that it was a container for books to be born and blogs, because I also see this process as really supporting a new blogger or someone who's just getting going with sharing their online writing. Beyond that, that's all I knew. I created a loose outline and I led it in January for an intimate group. And my plan was mostly there for my own security, but it was totally ignored. I spoke what came through. And this is the trust that I've been able to cultivate after being in the online business world for a decade, teaching, coaching, working with writers, founders, entrepreneurs, new authors, allowing what shows up and keeping my ego out of the way. I knew I would run the program again. I just didn't know when. I thought maybe in the fall, because my brain is like, oh, fall is good for books. A lot of people want to write then. And instead, I kicked off the week, and on my to-do list, I wrote down TLD plan, the living draft, work on the plan. Literally hours later, I got an email. The subject line, TLD. And the email said, when does your spring cohort of TLD start? I don't remember mentioning a spring cohort, but clearly the stars were aligned and it is time to do this again. And I have learned to trust and not question these nudges. They're always right. And really, 2026 has been a year for me of not just noticing synchronicities like, oh, that's cool. How interesting that 3 owls showed up today. Or 2 people asked me about the living draft. It's something shown to me and I take action. Whatever that action is immediately, even if the immediate action is work on a plan. And that is totally transforming everything. I thought I was in flow, working with my intuition, writing intuitively, working with my energy. It is only deepening now that I've been practicing this. I could probably write a whole book on that. By the end of last week, I picked some dates for the spring cohort. Spoiler, it's happening in April. And I added some fresh testimonials to the page. And since it's a live, intimate container, I sent a few quick messages to the people who had been circling it last time, saying they wanted to do it, but weren't sure on the timing. And they ultimately did not join. So I wanted to share the new dates with them. Because it's a small container and space is limited, I was giving these people first dibs. One particular email landed and caught my attention. And this is something I've heard many times, even from my own mouth. So I'm going to share this message. I'll read it for you. And I think it perfectly sums up the conflict that many creatives wrestle with. Here's what she wrote after I sent her the dates. Ooh, thanks for this info. I'll look at the dates and get back to you. I want to do it, and I feel the old wrestle of fear and ignoring the call swirling inside me. But I've had some bold downloads of clarity as to what needs to be written. Not the specific content per se, but the inevitability of an attempt to get something down on the page. I let that email land, my eyes darted across the words, and I recognized this wrestling match so intimately. I've totally danced with this myself. If you've been writing or thinking about writing for any length of time, whether it's 5 minutes, 5 years, 5 decades, you know this feeling, probably intimately. On one side, there's the powerful, undeniable pull. You want to do this thing. You feel called to it. You know deep down, this work is important. And yet, at the exact same moment, something primal, something ancient tightens in your chest. And this is where the voice creeps in. It might sound like fear. What if I fail? What if it's not good? What if I say something wrong? It might sound like doubt. I don't have time. I'm too busy. Maybe later. It might feel like the who am I to write this energy? Hasn't it all been said before? How will I say it better? And do I really know enough? This internal conflict unfolds in an instant, and it might be so common and familiar in your mind that this pattern is on replay and it sounds like background noise. You might not even notice it. Writers might even label this confusion, lack of inspiration, or simply not being ready yet. We're never going to be ready. I was never ready to start my book. I started anyway. However, when we press the pause button on the mind chatter, we can hear what's going on underneath all of this. And this word is what struck me. Inevitability. Most writers aren't confused about next steps, and they have plenty of ideas swirling. Usually inspiration is not what my clients are struggling with. Deep down, they know they can do it. And inevitability suggests one thing. The activation simply hasn't happened yet. And that word, inevitability, I just keep coming back to it. And maybe it stopped you too. I love it because it bypasses all the usual ego arguments. It's not about content clarity or a polished outline or a perfectly formed through line or theme, only inevitability. It's the kind of knowing that speaks confidently. It essentially is saying, this is going to come through whether you cooperate or not. Like, we're doing this. Sorry, not sorry. That kind of vibe. And it suggests that the work already exists. Your job is not to invent it, but to be the one to allow it to come into form, to bring it to life. When this inevitability meets an old fear pattern, there's a friction created. This friction is not bad. It's a threshold. It's the moment right before you step through the doorway, right before you embark on a journey that's going to support your growth and your identity change. You're standing, looking through the threshold, looking through the doorway that separates the person you are now from the person you're becoming, the person who actually attempts the writing. And it's at this threshold that I see writers consistently do one of two things. One, they shrink back and say, maybe later. It's like retreating back to dry land after they got their ankles wet in the ocean, saying they need more time, more research, more skill, more confidence. Or number two, they say yes, even if their voice shakes a little. They own the fear, feel that wobble, feel a little unstable, and decide that trying is more important than staying comfortable in this moment. They prioritize the creative call over their nervous system's preference for the safe and familiar. I'm sharing this because I know this intimately. I've made both choices over the past 10 years, and I can tell you with certainty that one feels like shit and one feels like your heart is in your throat. So they kind of feel the same. May as well pick the one that's going to help you grow, right? When you choose number one, maybe later, The nudges come at inconvenient hours of the night. It's the 2:30 a.m. wake-up call saying, write this. So you ignore it because 2 a.m., because you want to go back to sleep. Unsuccessfully, the ideas keep swirling. It keeps nudging you. Totally been there. When you choose number 2, saying yes, even if you're afraid, the fear is still there under the surface. It doesn't go away just because you say yes. And it can pop up at different times throughout your project. And the thing with number 2 is you have to keep choosing it again and again. It's not a one and done. The fear you feel at this moment is not a sign that you should not write what you were thinking about writing. It's actually the opposite. Both choices are uncomfortable, and one feels like a lot more fun. Now, this question feels quite cliche. I'm almost rolling my eyes. I'm about to say it out loud. You've probably heard the expression, imagine you're a character in a movie trying to decide between two things. Which one would you choose? Obviously, we're going to choose the more interesting one because the maybe later doesn't make a very good movie. It just shows you sitting there waiting, doing the same thing you've been doing day in and day out. This also brings up a line from one of my favorite Canadian bands, the Tragically Hip, from the song Wheat Kings. There's a line in there that says, besides, no one's interested in something you didn't do. And I quoted this in my book, Unfussy Life, too, because this quote has been a powerful one for me for a long time. No one cares about the book you didn't write, the one you want to write, the one you're thinking about. People only care about what you are doing and what you did. And this wrestle isn't about the logistics of your busy life. It's not about time management, having the skill to write, or even quality of ideas. Like, is my idea good enough? It's actually about 3 profound, life-altering concepts. 1, visibility, the fear of being seen and exposed by your truest thoughts and your ideas you're writing. Your thoughts are all on paper for people to read. 2, identity, the necessary and often painful shedding of your old self to step into the role of writer. A writer is a person with authority, a voice, and a perspective that demands attention. Not in a you must pay attention to me kind of way, but a quiet, confident way. Even if, quote, writer is a temporary hat that you wear while you write your book and put it back down when you step back into your calling in your day job or whatever your business is, speaking from the stage, teaching a group, recording courses, whatever that is. And 3, crossing the edge. You're becoming the person who actually attempts the thing they feel called to do and totally transforming yourself from dreamer to doer. It's a big change. And when someone describes the feeling of the inevitability of an attempt, like, I know I'm going to try, I can't not try, what they're describing is this threshold. It's the energy of knowing the work wants to be written. There's a clear internal yes, like your body is screaming, yes. Your nervous system, however, just hasn't quite caught up to the transformation that's happening. And that is the moment that causes people to say, nope, maybe later. So here is an energy first approach to this wrestling match that's going on literally in our heads. We might often mistakenly believe that the only way to deal with this fear is to bulldoze through it, force your way, fight through it, to get to a state of confidence. And it's a battle that we are not wired to win. It is a losing one. In an energy first approach, however, we shift the strategy. We don't ignore or try to remove the fear because that simply causes the nervous system to dig in its heels harder. The fear isn't wrong. It's information. Instead, we notice it, acknowledge the fear without judging it. You might say something like, there's the old fear pattern. It's showing up because I'm about to do something amazing. I see you, and I'm moving forward anyway. You can regulate around it using practices to soothe your nervous system. For example, a few deep breaths, a change of scenery, getting out in the sun, hand on your heart, a moment of stillness. And in these moments, you're communicating to your body that it's safe. And we write anyway. We commit to beginning gently, honestly, imperfectly. There's no perfect way to start a book. Knowing that confidence only comes when we take action and then consistent action. Confidence doesn't instantly come with action one. It's a constant recommitment. We're focusing on the willingness to begin. And this is really the only thing we truly control. Then we begin again and again at each stage of the writing process. And really the most powerful move when we're faced with this wrestle between maybe later and yes, it's not to look for more information, more certainty, more skill. We're not going to ask 10 more people for advice, make lists of pros and cons. All those moves are going to deliver the exact excuses you're looking for, the ones to validate the reason why not now is your answer. The bold move, though, is to find your internal steadiness. We all have this inside. It's that quiet inner confidence that lets you tolerate the discomfort of stepping through the threshold. To write your book, to write blogs, you do not need a full, polished plan. Your plan will change. So I do suggest a loose one, very loose. You also don't need the exact perfect words because there's no such thing. And you also don't need any certainty that it's going to be good or, quote, successful. That would be nice, but we can't control this as much as we think we can. You only need one thing. And I already mentioned this. Readiness. That clarity you're feeling, it's deep. It's the sense of what needs to come through. That is your next edge. It's your next growth edge to overcome. The part of you that is ready to move through it. Now, if your muscles are starting to cramp from all this wrestling, circling, back and forth mix of fear, clarity, consider this an invitation. The invitation is not to prove you're ready, because you never will be, like I mentioned. I was never ready when I started writing. I simply started. It's a constant willingness to begin and begin again and to keep going. So consider this an invitation because something in you has already reached a point of not turning around. Something in you is ready to give it a try. Now, the living draft begins soon. It's starting April 16th, and it's a space designed specifically for the writer who feels this inevitability of something wanting to be written. Even if you don't know what it is, how big it is, what it's about, you know there is something there. If this is you, you don't have to silence this fear or try to convince it to go away. You only need to have willingness to stop ignoring the call. Bring yourself, fear and all, to apply. Applications are open and there's an early enrollment rate available. It's an intimate experience and we are camera free so you can truly come as you are. And as I mentioned, space is super limited, so I recommend applying as early as you can. I hope you truly enjoyed this episode about the wrestle between maybe later and yes. I know it is a familiar one for so many creatives, and I hope this is giving you the willingness to try,